Welcome to another episode of Higher Learning. I am your host, Oz Rashid. This isn't just a podcast, my friends. It's a front row seat to how elite leaders build iconic teams. The kind of leaders who spot potential others overlook, who build cultures people don't want to leave, who set the bar and then raise it. Work and how we work is evolving at a rapid pace like no time in history. Our guests will give you insights on how to stay out in front when it comes to leadership, management, AI, and developing skills that actually matter. If you're a founder, hiring manager, or just obsessed with building teams, this is your spot. First time here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button, drop a rating, and tell a friend who gets it. To our longtime listeners, we appreciate you. Now, for today's guest, very special guest, somebody that I've spent a lot of time talking to over the past year and a half. Some people like to talk about transformation, but Mariano Filippini lives it. He started his career in finance, made the leap to media and sports, and then went full entrepreneur, launching a pro rugby team in Miami from scratch. And now he's doing his most exciting endeavor yet, where he's building a tech platform and content brand, GenFC, which we're going to talk about for the first time in a public fashion today. Here's the through line with this guy. He doesn't wait for opportunity. He builds the damn field, recruits the players, sells the tickets, and launches the live stream. From HSBC to TelevisaUnivision to CEO of the Miami Sharks, Mariano's career is a case study in betting on yourself and turning pivots into power plays. Today, we're going to talk about everything from career transformation, what it takes to build a pro sports team, why he's going all in on GenFC, how growing up in football-obsessed Argentina shaped him, and what to expect in the U.S. during the World Cup. Mariano, that was a mouthful. How you doing, my friend?
Man, thank you so much for having me here. I feel honored about
I'm
that
so happy
interview.
to see you, brother. Looks like we matched up our shirts and everything today. We got the same look going on here. I'm loving it.
Yes, indeed. But thank you so much. I'm honored of being here. I'm honored for the introduction. So I appreciate it.
You got it, brother. I want to make sure that we do a good job of getting everybody really excited and understanding who we've got sitting in this chair. So one of the things that you and I have talked about in the past, and we did a full interviews around alumni events, around your career and transformation. But the thing that I'm really interested in is the risks that you've taken, right? To me, that's something that gets me excited. It's something I've done throughout my career. So, I want to talk about some of these risks. You started your career in finance, right? Kind of in banking, kind of like a very, what I would say is a linear, rigid kind of path that takes you down a certain direction. Yeah. And then you went into media and sports, then running a team. So maybe you didn't see these risks at the time, but is this something that like pervades like every area of your life? Like, are you like into skydiving and like adrenaline junkie?
No, actually, not at all. On the contrary. And sometime earlier in my life, I read an article saying that entrepreneurs take risk, but calculated risk. So I keep on thinking it in that way. So whenever I take a risk, for sure, I do my internal calculations and really think through what I'm doing. And sometimes for the people outside, they think that I'm taking a lot of risk, but sometimes it's not as much. I do take some time analyzing and thinking through what are the next moves. But I do think and I do believe that without taking risk, it's very complicated to make a difference.
Yeah, I love that how you frame that. I would say, as an entrepreneur, same thing for me. I always think about whenever I'm thinking about a decision, something that's going to pivot, something that's going to take me in a different direction or take the company in a different direction. I think about the worst case scenario. And I say, in the worst case scenario, what is that outcome? And could I live with that? And if the answer is no, then I take some steps back because I have to make sure that, if you're taking so long to build something, you don't want to lose it all in one shot. At the same time, can you hedge your risk? Do you have knowledge of the space that you're going into? If things don't go exactly to plan, are you able to kind of handle that? And how do you manage that? So to your point, that calculated risk is really important. But at the same time, so many people just kind of stick to status quo and they just say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's not for me. That doesn't sound like that's for you either.
No, it's not. It's not. And even making all of the changes, sometimes I feel as if I shouldn't have stayed that much time doing that particular job or that particular, moment in my life. So I do think that moving forward and changing is one of the things that I love about this country, that it's so dynamic. There's so many different options. Whenever I have conversations with folks in Argentina, sometimes they keep on doing the same stuff for a long time, and I completely understand them, but that's not something for me. I love this style about being dynamic, about how things move so fast, and in South Florida, it's even faster.
100%. And I love that. You're absolutely right. Like, this is something I think we take for granted in our country and in our community, and particularly in the entrepreneurial space around, this just ability to, stability isn't, it's not that it's not valued. I think people value stability, but it's not kind of the status quo. I think this ability to reinvent yourself and to transform, I think, is a key aspect to American professional life in particular. And like you said, in this market in South Florida in particular, it seems like it's an overdrive here. So let me ask you this. We've talked about some of these transformations. Now let me ask you this. What do you think is the most important transformation that you took in your career? Was it the industry jumps? Was it the entrepreneurial jump? Was it
Well,
the personal jump? Tell me.
I do think that my current transformation is probably the most important one, but it's no surprise. I keep on thinking that every year. But I recently, or not that long ago, I changed into being an entrepreneur, and I think that's a major change. Even if I started businesses before, even if I launched different businesses, I do think that making the change of having compensation, clarity in the compensation, clarity in what's the, at the end of the month, receiving a paycheck versus not having that clarity, I think that's one of the biggest transformation that I had. But I want to highlight this piece. Even if I started and did some launches of different businesses, doing it with my own capital, or not not having like a paycheck every month is different.
Bootstrapping is definitely different. And listen, I know that altogether. Many people look at like the size of MSH and they think, oh man, there must have been some outside investment and capital. This was built off of sweat equity, bootstrapped from the beginning, right? No outside investment whatsoever. There was multiple years where I made $0 and I had to have a little bit of money saved up, but I was certainly living, I just gotten married. I just had a kid. I was not necessarily living the life that my wife probably thought when she got married to me, because we had to go through such little means initially to eventually get to where we are today. And to your point, like that's a risk. That's maybe had I rethought that at the time, I would have done that maybe a little bit differently. But looking back, it was absolutely the right decision. And so let's not bury the lead. Let's talk about it, because you are embarking on this new exciting journey. You have built a technology and started a YouTube channel by the name of Gen FC. I am soccer, football obsessed. I really love this. So when you told me about this, I got really excited. Tell me about your latest venture and why you decided to go in this direction.
So look, as we talked before, I'm a huge sports fan, and I do think right now it's a great moment for soccer. Not only because of Messi being here, but the World Cup is being here, and all of the numbers on youth soccer are exploding. So South Florida is a big hub of youth soccer. And at the same time, there has been lately some technology advancements that are transformational for a bunch of these youth organizations that are called soccer academies. They play a key role in shaping young individuals, boys and girls, and they are booming as well. There's so many different kids that want to play this sport, that are super intense with this sport. And so these academies are growing. There are academies not only in Florida, but all over the country. And at the same time, there's been a technology change with this new AI video technology, where you don't need a filming person all the time on the spot. So there's a bunch of different technologies that provide this service, where you get a camera, you just put it with a tripod, and it follows the player. But it also highlights the different the games automatically. So when I realized about it, coming from media and coming from sports, I realized the big change that was happening. We're talking about a lot of recordings that are not being used to expose these skills. So I'll give you an example. You go to an academy, they teach their players how to play, but they are not using that material to promote the academy, to promote the players, to motivate the players. And what we do at GenFC is we give the spotlight to these kids, to these academies, by understanding on how to use that content that normally doesn't get used. And it's a big market, that's for sure. And it's definitely something that makes a difference in not only academies, but in the kids as well.
So can you give us examples of maybe some of the academies you're working with, or maybe a success story you've seen so far in leveraging the technology? And what's unique about this specific technology than maybe what we've had over the past 4 or 5 years?
So number one, this is the first digital channel that focuses only youth soccer here in the US. So this is a channel where we in particular we focus in giving coverage to this academies. As you probably heard, all of these players play like 5 days a week, 7 days a week soccer. They love the sport. And what we're doing is we provide professional coverage for them. I'll give you an example. Miami FC is one of the second biggest pro club here in South Florida. And we're working with them. They were champions of a big tournament last weekend. We create clips, we create the MVP, and we give exposure to everything what they do. And also, we are starting to teach how to use all of these recordings to this organization. Normally, they don't use them. And this is a great way not only to motivate and give exposure to the players and coaches, but also to bring additional revenue to the organizations. I'll give you an example. If you go to a sponsor and you try to sell the front of the jersey, and the sponsor can only see the brand at the field, is very different if every week you publish a video with the actual brand. So that's what we're trying to fool the different academies on start doing. And I think it's here to stay. But it's a big change. Technology.
Sounds like a lot of exposure opportunity. Sounds like a big financial opportunity for the clubs and for your organization. What was the moment? Like, you saw soccer growing, like what made you say, hey, I need to get into this now?
I took a few months figuring out what would be my next move professionally wise. I knew that I wanted to start something on my own. And I realized that in sports, soccer is now happening. It's only starting. I realized that this technology, I was in a few conventions looking and investigating and exploring what was out there. And it's funny because I keep on track of my pals in Argentina through a YouTube channel of my rugby club. I was watching the games live of the first team in Argentina. I was like, man, this is incredible. Why couldn't we do this and get it in soccer here with this new technology? And that was actually the moment when I said, hey, this can become mainstream. And that's the vision that we have at GenFC, to start giving these tools to the academies on how to use that content that hasn't been used up to now.
Amazing. I love that. And we will definitely put some information in the show notes to the YouTube channel, and so people can access it and see it live for themselves. You talked about Argentina and how your friends back in Argentina, everybody I think knows who's even, remotely following the sport. Argentina is obsessed with football. So I'm really interested to know, how big of a part of everyday life was it growing up? What does it mean to the culture of that country?
Oh, it's big. Like in all the breaks, that's cool. We at the beginning, when we were younger, we weren't allowed to bring a ball. So what did we do? We used a empty cartoon or juice, and we used it as a ball. And every break that we had, we until we were allowed to have a ball. And, when we were 10, 11. And all we did was playing soccer. And it's just a huge part of the culture in general. Like, with rich words that for a name, For example, instead of saying 10, we say Diego because Diego Armando Maradona was using the 10 jersey. So it's big in every aspect. Um, I am really hoping that to some extent the rivalries between the different clubs are starting to diminish a little bit. Not the rivalries, but the aggressive or violent rivalries. I do think that when Messi and Argentina started being the champion of different competitions, that helped quite a bit. But it also had its downsides in the sense that there were some rivalries and violence in the culture because of soccer. But it's changing quite a bit because of this new national team that is winning and putting everyone in the
Bring
same
everybody
boat.
together. But so I don't want to get this wrong. Is it Boca and River Plate are like the big rivalry? Did I get that right?
But that's one of the.
So that there's a lot of other rivalries out there. I was thinking, I have a friend who's attended some of those games, and the red fireworks are going off everywhere, and it's absolute insanity. He's telling me. He said it's a once in a lifetime sporting event that you have to attend.
It's incredible, but it's not only Boca and River. It's I'm a Boca fan, but you've got every major team that you've got tens in even in Buenos Aires, you've got like maybe 40 or 50 teams that are big. They all have their own rivalry. So
Amazing.
So
you're saying that in a country that was very fractured by these rivalries, the national team coming together has kind of brought some unity, you'd say.
Some unity for sure. Yeah. I mean, it used to be a little bit different. It used to be a little bit more violent. That changed quite a bit. They started not letting the visiting team fans go into the stadium. Now they're even thinking of bringing them back.
Okay,
they're
so
doing it. We'll see for them.
I mean, the U.S. national team. There you go. You just heard your charge. You can bring the entire country together by making a deep run into the 2026 World Cup. What's it like when there is a World Cup game going on in Argentina? Does the entire country shut down, or does everybody watch? What happened when they won back in 2022, I believe?
Yeah, that was like an episode that hadn't occurred in the country for some time. There was absolutely no one in the streets until everyone was in the streets. I think there was a record. There's a bunch of video. If anyone is interested in this, you should go on YouTube. It's incredible. I think it was like 5 million people in the center of Argentina, and everyone celebrating super hot in December. It's actually is one of the best parts of the year. You can go to any bar that you go. At some point of the night, they start singing the songs of the national team, which is incredible. It was just sick.
So for those that don't know, obviously the most world famous soccer player in the world, Lionel Messi, is Argentinian, and he's come to play Inter Miami a few years ago. What was that like for you? Were you like really pumped and excited about that? Were you following the speculation leading up? Like, do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I do remember. Actually, at that point, I was launching the Miami Sharks, and our home stadium was Inter Miami. And when we signed that agreement with Inter Miami, we didn't know that Messi was coming. So we signed it after that, we got the news that Messi was there. So it was incredible. I was super excited. Everyone understands that we need to be respectful, of course, because of the of what the star he is, and also to make sure that he's able to train. But it was super exciting. And I do think it has a lot to do with the growth of the sport in the U.S. and here in Florida.
For sure. By far the biggest star that's ever come. And I got to laugh a little bit because as somebody that follows international soccer pretty closely, like I've been not in Camp Nou, but outside Camp Nou. I've been outside the Parc des Princes, right, in Paris. Nice. And then, as well as I do here in South Florida, that was a dry pink stadium, like in Fort Lauderdale off a commercial next to Extreme Action Park, the greatest soccer player of all time. But they've done a good job of like renovating and kind of getting that stadium up. But I'm very much looking forward to, what is it, the Freedom Center or the stadium that they're building in Miami?
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be ready by January. I think next season is gonna happen. In the Miami is gonna play. I'm super impressed. Whenever I go to the airport, you can see the stadium that is coming together.
Finding the right talent for your team doesn't have to be a struggle. Meet Aon Hire, the world's first hiring experience management platform designed to transform the way you hire. Powered by AI, Aon Hire takes the hassle out of every step in the process. From smart resume analysis to customized interview questions, it saves you time, money, and effort. Plus, with real-time insights from every interview, you can quickly identify top candidates, reduce turnover, and stay on budget. And forget about note-taking, Aon Hire takes care of that for you. Ready to revolutionize your hiring process? Visit aonhire.com and get started today.
That's amazing. So let's talk about the World Cup because it's coming to the U.S. next year. What do you anticipate both in terms of the event management and the results on the field for the U.S. team?
So, with regards to, it's gonna be a very different World Cup than this is the largest World Cup in the sense that the most national teams that are playing. That this is the first edition with more teams than before, and with a bigger geography. So it's Mexico, U.S., and Canada. So I think it's gonna be a little bit different. It used to be more concentrated in one place, and I think it's gonna be it's different in that sense. But I think the U.S. has learned from past experiences. Copa America happened here a year ago, a little bit more.
Yep.
And
I remember
went that
seeing like
well.
Colombian fans and the Brazilian fans and like people just going absolutely crazy for the Copa America.
Copa America happened here. Also, the World Cup of Clubs happened here. So there was several experiences before in the coordination of the event. So I think this time should be the best out of the of everything come together at one place. I do think there were some things to improve, specifically in the Copa America edition, the first one. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna go well. I think the infrastructure is amazing. It's probably the best country or the best countries with the infrastructure for soccer now, and they have some time and experience to work it out. So I'm looking forward to it.
Love that.
Hopefully, I'm praying for Argentina to play here in Miami. I would love to do so.
I mean, I've been thinking for years now that I definitely need to go see because I really love cheering on the U.S. team. But it sounds like the tickets are just like impossible to get, and it's going to be quite an expensive endeavor to be able to go. So we'll see. I'm going to see if I can pull some strings and get invited to either a game in Miami or Orlando, or I don't know if I have to travel to Dallas. Let's figure it out. Let's see what we can do. You can't miss this. So let's talk a little bit about talent because it's something that throughout your career you've been in large corporate environments. You've been in banking. You started Miami Sharks and a rugby team. So you've been assessing talent along so many different levels for a long time. I'm interested, and let's look at the correlation maybe from like players on the pitch to, people that you bring into your team. What's maybe a core hiring philosophy you have that stretches across both of those components?
I think if I had to define what I look for when hiring is for that candidate to be a team player in the sense in order to be a team player you need to have certain level of humbleness, of humility, and at the same time to be able to understand and have empathy with the other persons. I'm not super interested in folks that are incredibly good at what they do but are not team players at all. That's one of the things that I take a look at. The second piece that I think it's super important is for candidates to really want to improve on a constant basis. Look, you can figure out if someone is constantly trying to make things better and really has shown throughout their career they are trying to change, to improve, and that's definitely not that easy to find. So that's a second quality that I think you need in a winning team.
Love that. What about? So I usually ask about a memorable interview, and if you have a great story from that, you can definitely bring it up. But I'm also interested, like building this team from scratch, players. I know you were on the field a little bit, kind of assessing kind of some of the talent. Like, do you have any good stories from the time with the Miami Sharks, or even just when it comes back to, when you were hiring, good interviews or a memorable story you can tell us?
I do have. I do some, not of the Miami Sharks, but I do have from back in Buenos Aires. Um, I was hiring for HSBC, and there was this candidate that I asked about who was their their idol or their person to that they are looking upon, and he actually said like an actor of Argentina, that his name is Franchella, from it will be something similar to Jim Carrey, and I was interviewing him for for banking.
For a
Yeah,
banking role, and he
so
said
I
that
was
this like
yeah,
slapstick
Jim
comedian
Carrey,
was his role
and I
model.
like I wasn't prepared for that. I tried to keep it serious, but I didn't take it. And he actually ended up being a super good guy, but a super professional guy. But I could never for that. I never forgot about about
He
everyone.
he 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 really wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and he just didn't have the gut to go out there and do it, I guess. So he went into banking, huh?
Exactly, and but he made his mark, and
I love it.
ended up hiring.
Hey, listen, that's a unique insight on somebody. That tells you a lot about the dichotomy of someone. I love that. What's maybe a favorite question that you like to ask to try to get to the root of maybe if somebody's a team player, humbleness, or just in general in the interview process?
What I try to do, and in order to really understand how these people think, or a candidate think, is I normally bring up a real problem that we're having, um, in that specific area that I'm interviewing for. So let's say we're trying to figure out what is the best content strategy to target young individuals that are playing sports. I ask real questions that are happening. Sometimes it brings me a new perspective. Sometimes it doesn't, but it allows me to understand how they think, and maybe brainstorm ideas out of the box.
That's not bad. Maybe even if you're not hiring, but you just want to solve a problem at work that you're struggling with, you just bring in some people and you're like, oh, that's good. Let me get notes on that. That's a good
Yes.
idea.
Yeah.
As I like that. And I think also the more you can understand the application of what somebody would do in the job or what kind of experience they've had that translates, I find that to be super, super important. Um, when you've missed on people in the past, whether it be in athletics or whether it be in corporate, right, hiring, is there a theme that you look at, or is there something that you kind of learned along the way that maybe at the beginning of your career you didn't always see?
When I missed someone that isn't here
Yeah,
anymore.
like when you make a hire and you look back, like, oh man, I messed up on that. Is there like, sometimes people have themes when they do it multiple times, like they look for somebody like themselves, or they overvalue how much they like the person versus whether they can do the job.
The first thing, the first pattern that I noticed is whenever I hire on a hurry, the chances of of us making a mistake is much higher. So, and whenever I don't take a decent amount of time assimilating what happened in the interview, the chances for me of making a mistake are higher. But with regards to what are the things that normally I hire incorrectly, I don't think besides that I have a real pattern that I noticed yet.
Okay.
Then that's a good comment. Maybe I should start thinking about it.
Analyzing the patterns. Yeah, but sometimes like definitely moving too fast, right? And or like being very desperate to hire a role, and then you start to, put on rose-colored glasses and see things through those lenses when you're, that can be a real problem, and that's something that everybody struggles with, including myself. So yeah, you have to make sure that you try to stay as like unbiased and pragmatic as possible in those processes, even if you're starting to feel under the gun or you want to make the hire, or work is piling up or whatever it may be. So it's a very common one.
Yeah,
If I,
the other piece that sometimes now that I'm thinking is when a role is to a certain degree specific, and I don't know too much about that specificity.
Yep.
Sometimes I hire someone only because of uh, the relationship or social traits, and there are certain roles that you need to understand a bit better. And since I'm more of a generalist, and I'm a general manager and a CEO and a founder. Sometimes I don't understand to the deepest extent certain function.
Some of the
And
details.
I do think that it's super important for someone who really, really understands the depth of it, of the different function, to also have their opinions.
For sure. I mean, you can't hire a goalie onto the team if they've never played goalie before, right? Sometimes there's something
Exactly.
specific to that, no matter how much they can convince you or the relationship. If I asked you to remember the best hire you've ever made, does anybody come to mind? You don't have to name names, but
Yes, it does. It does, and definitely.
what can you tell us about this? Tell us about this situation, who this person was, why they're so great.
I think it has to do with proactiveness, and I can think of a couple of people that I hired when I was super pleased, and they reached out. It's not like the best hire that I had. I wasn't even looking at that moment, and they reached out. They found an opportunity, and they came to me. I think being proactive, it's everything. Because if you have someone proactive in your team, you can sleep without being stressed of I am the sense that he's thinking about how to improve things. You don't need to be on top of it. So this particular person was super proactive. He reached out. I didn't know that person. Um, so I was back in TelevisaUnivision. So and that was a great end.
That's a great lesson, right? So many, I mean, I get a lot of unsolicited resumes and things like that. And sometimes I look at them and I try to respond every time, but I know I've missed a few out there. And so you never know what you could be missing by. In fact, I'm thinking of one I got this morning that I like the resume. And I'm like, am I going to follow up with this person? Not now because you said that, I'm going to follow up with them. Who knows? Might be the next great hire for me. So,
Yeah, you know what? Also, those people are normally the icebreakers. Those people are the ones that bring new businesses, new ideas. They are the ones that try to reach out, that are thinking in a different way. And it's no secret that revenue generating people are more than important.
for sure. Love that. Let's talk a little bit about AI. Obviously, Gen FC AI is a big component of the technology. How has AI impacted your life? Are you using it, on a professional or personal level, like what outside of the technology for the for Gen FC? Are you using AI in different ways?
Yeah, like every day, all the time. And actually, the way I think about it is the good thing when you start something new. Now we have the opportunity of use to the full extent AI and automate the things that make sense. Um, in what we do that has to do with covering youth teams. There's a lot of information and human errors that you can avoid by using AI. There's a different from design, from figuring out what were the results, understanding or doing background checks on what happened throughout the career of the different players. I think it's I wouldn't be able to do what we're doing, not only because of the video technology, but all of the different. I think it's super important to use it on a daily basis.
Integrate it into your life. I love that. All right, let's take it a little bit different direction. I want to go a little bit of day in the life stuff here. So, do you have a product maybe that you recently purchased that you just love that you want to recommend to everybody?
A product. If I had to say product, look, I'm buying cameras all the time, but I don't want to give no free branding to the different colors, here in your podcast.
But you're fine.
Yeah,
You're
but
loving the different
I
cameras
do
you're using?
recommend I do recommend all of the new cameras that have AI. It's incredible. You just put them there, you put a tripod, and you start. You just leave, you forget about it, and at the end of the day, you have like a very professional, high quality video of your son or whoever you wanna look at.
I love that. Maybe I should just put the camera on a tripod in my office all day, and then I can get a bunch of different information on my work day and how I can improve productivity. Love that. What's some advice that you'd give your younger self that you didn't know then, but that you know now?
I would say there's a bunch of different advice, and I would give one, but I think the most important one would be when I was a little bit younger, and I still do, but I try to fight against it on a daily basis. It's also about enjoying what you're doing. it makes no sense stressing too much about things you can't solve or can improve. And it makes a lot of sense to try to enjoy the journey. Um, in particular, when you're trying to do or accomplish or you're ambitious in your goals. When I was younger, I tended to not enjoy as much as I'm doing today, or at least as I'm trying to do. It's not only about the result, it's not only about the goal. It has to do with the result has to be learning, has to be enjoying, has to be being close to the people that you want to work with, being close to your family. The other piece that I think when I was younger, I didn't give it the importance that it has is not managing the energy of your day-to-day basis, knowing when it is time to stop, knowing when it's time to spend some time with your friends, parents, because there is, well, it's super important to specifically when you're launching something or you're being an entrepreneur, how to manage yourself. Um, it's not the same if you sleep well. It's not the same if you work 24 hours straight versus when you spent an afternoon in the beach just relaxing your mind. That's something that I didn't used to have that much in my radar when I was younger. I was more, no, we're going to accomplish this. We're going to go for these goals and kept on working. But I do figure out now that it makes a lot of sense to really understand what works for you.
Love that. I actually had a LinkedIn post on this recently about like not just, working, 20 hours a day or whatever you hear about, putting in 996 or whatever it is. Like you have to understand your energy, your balance, right? And it's not about being lazy, not at all. It's about sustaining consistent performance over time, right? Same thing with an athlete. An athlete has to rest too. It's not just about training at all times. You have to rest. You have to give your body the opportunity. It's the same thing with your mind. And I think people are starting to realize the importance of that to get the best out of yourself on a day by day, even minute by minute basis.
Yeah, and the other piece that I think at least it helps me to manage that is having a long horizon perspective. Like, this is for the long run. This is a marathon. So when you start having that kind of mindset, there's no need to finish everything today. When I think about Gen FC, I think about, hey, I'm building something for the next 5 years. It doesn't need to be finished today. Results are not gonna come up tomorrow, but I'm laying the grounds for something in the long run. So that helps me quite a bit in the sense of not overworking, taking my time on making decisions, but at the same time, moving forward in the right direction.
Love that. All right. We have our lightning round coming up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're not prepared for these questions. This is going to be all Argentinian themed, okay?
Oh,
First question. Favorite Argentinian meal?
asado.
What's that?
It's meat barbecue.
Barbecue. Okay. With chimichurri or not?
No, I'm not. No, I don't. I don't like
Not a
spicy.
chimichurri guy.
No,
Your friends in
not a
Argentina are
chimichurri.
going to be upset when they hear this. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, but some of them will understand that. Like Argentinians, we don't eat that much spicy food, so
Not for you. Okay. What about if I'm visiting Argentina? What's the one place or city I have to visit?
jeez. I would say Mendoza. You would
Okay.
definitely need to go
Big
to
wine area, right?
wine. Yeah, wine. All kinds of different landscapes. Very relaxing people.
Okay.
A different environment.
What's something that would surprise people about living in Argentina or Argentina?
The people, for sure.
In what way?
In the way they're social, they make you laugh. They are very theatrical, very expressive, very creative. The people is I'm super proud of the Argentinian people. And specifically on the creative side and how they tell jokes, they sing songs, they do movies. They are very expressive. I would definitely say the people.
Maradona or Messi?
Messi. No,
Not even a question.
not even a question.
Was it different before the World Cup victory?
Not for me. No, not for me. Not for me. No, I'm a huge Messi fan. I think he changed the reputation of Argentinians had in the world of being show-offs to being humble and shutting their mouths and really doing things. So Messi, no doubt.
Favorite Malbec?
No, it's I don't think you're gonna. It's from a wine from Mendoza.
Tell us the name. Maybe somebody will listen and
So-
pick it up.
Sofenian. Is the name. Sofenian.
Dang it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sofenian.
Who's your favorite non-Argentinian footballer of all time?
Of all times, Ronaldo.
Ronaldo? Messi's
No.
biggest competitor?
No.
No,
Igor
Ronaldo.
No,
Gotcha.
no.
Not Cristiano
Wala
Ronaldo.
kalaro Filipino. Igor Ronaldo. He's
Got
a
it.
beast.
And why? What do you love about his game?
Man, he was incredible. It was a freaking bull, a 9 that like he could do everything. I always wished that Argentina had a 9 as he had. We had very good 9s, but Ronaldo was incredible. Is incredible. He also he's a nice dude.
Who's winning the Champions League this year?
I hope not Real Madrid. I really
Me
hope
either.
no. I
And that's
finally
Real Madrid.
I'm gonna go with an English team. I'm hoping Liverpool.
Yes, that's my favorite team. Okay. Outside of Argentina, going back to back, who do you got winning the World Cup?
Spain. Yeah,
They do have a formidable team. They've been building for a little bit now.
I
So I
think
like how
Spain.
they rebuilt their team. Okay.
I think Spain. If not, no, I think Spain.
Incredible tactics, incredible midfield. And I think they might have the attack, the actual attackers this time to be able to really do something. So
It will be great to have a surprise, but it's that normally doesn't happen.
no, it doesn't happen.
But look, I would love Argentina to be the champion again, but I think chances are very slim. It can happen. Like even statistically, it's very difficult for it to happen. I'm hoping though that Argentina is going to be the champions.
I'll be
I want
cheering
to
for you.
jinx it. That's why. That's what I'm
I'll
trying
be
to
cheering
do.
for you, brother. I'll be cheering for you. Listen, Mariano, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been an amazing episode. Thanks so much. I'll see you soon in person, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me else. This podcast is amazing, and I always have a blast chatting with you. So I appreciate it.
You too, my friend. We'll make sure to connect to the links for Gen FC. And if you somehow end up with 2 World Cup tickets, you got to give me a call, okay? I want to ride with you.
We'll do. That's for sure.
All right, buddy. See you later.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.